Hello out there. We got a couple other cameras here we're gonna go live on. Anybody out there? Can you see this? I guess it's kind of hard to see. There's one camera, two camera, three camera. Hey, thanks for watching. We're on Periscope, Facebook Live, ooh, let's go live on that, and Twitter, or sorry, YouTube. Gets kind of confusing. So you guys are live on YouTube right now. Hello, Texas. This is Periscope, and I just started on Facebook too. Got some new music tonight. Bluka, my buddy Nick sent me some tunes. He makes beats and he's a drummer. I've known him since I was in like first grade, and he gave me some music. So I just added it on an old iPod, and we're gonna shuffle a few different artists. Hello. So if you like the music, I usually put in the title of the video. But I had some new tunes tonight, so it should be fun. I've got some clay prepared, 2 bricks. I'm gonna try to get through 2 bricks of cups, and then maybe make some handles to put on some cosmic mugs. So we're on my Cherrico Pottery Facebook page on Facebook Live right here. If you have a question, that's the easiest one for me to see, and then Periscope and on YouTube as well. Let's get started. Finished one. Everything's gone, everything's gone. Stars hit my head just before bed. Time collapses in. Never just things. No one remembers. Just That song was by a band called the Gibby Hibbies. So I'm just going to make cups today. These help them feel really handmade, help them feel really comfortable. So these will not get handles, they'll just be regular cups for cold drinks. Any pottery questions? Do I like having people watch me throw pottery, or do I like throwing alone? I do both. I'm not always on live video. But I try to make the videos really interesting, so there's a lot more work to do them, but I enjoy them. How long do I usually work? It depends. I try not to spend too much time on one thing. Worked on some sculptures this weekend. That was a lot of fun. And I've been making cups and mugs the past couple times I've been throwing pottery. Cold drinks only because it doesn't have a handle. Ceramic will absorb heat really quickly, so it's going to become whatever temperature of liquid you put into it. So if you put boiling hot tea in a cup, it's going to be really hot when you hold on to it, which is why you should have a handle. So these will be cups they're great for wine, water, whatever. Do my hands ever cramp up? No. Indents for my knuckles in 3 different spots. See that? It's actually kind of awkward to hold. But I try to experiment like that because it might be awkward for me, but someone who has different sized hands might be perfect. Do I teach classes? No, my job is to be a production potter. So I make pottery in series over and over again. Saludos. That's why I typically if I'm making cups, I'll just make cups for an evening. If I'm making bowls, I mostly just make bowls. So then if people buy pottery, it matches, so they can have, for the most part, matching piece of artwork. But no, I've never taught classes, so I'm really not experienced doing that. Do I ever plan on teaching one day? I'm not sure. Most of the teachers that I've experienced in my life, some of my favorite teachers, work really hard, and I think they're undervalued and underpaid. So there's not much motivation to go into teaching. Except for the fact that it's so incredibly fulfilling. So yeah, maybe someday later on, I'd love to figure out how to teach. But right now, the only way I pass on knowledge is really just through Facebook videos or our website and just leading by example, I guess. This is a new song, by the way. Lucas sent me some new tunes. I've never heard this. Any pottery questions? Does that hurt my feet? Not at all. Do I still hold the world record for most pots thrown? I do. It's hanging on the wall. Lucas sounds like a Super Mario game. I'll have to tell him that. Hey, thanks for being on Patreon. What coast am I on? I'm not on a coast. I'm in the land of 10,000 lakes. Am I the only potter for my company? Yeah, I am. Can I explain the difference in solar-fired pottery? That's a pretty broad question, but there's only one potter I've ever heard of that has solar panels hooked up to a kiln. And I think they're in Michigan. They're not far away. But it's not 100% solar fired because obviously they can't fire at night. And most firings take, half a day. At least 10 to 12 hours is common. So it's not really something that's been figured out yet, which is kind of why I want to figure it out. Minnesota. Yeah, I'm in Minnesota right now. What's up, Iowa? I grew up there. Any pottery questions? What age did I start? First time I touched clay was 7th grade, but I really got into it senior year of high school. Did I have to have a business degree to combine? Sorry, I can't read long questions, but no, I don't have a business degree, I have an art degree. So I just studied art intensely, spent all my time making art, and learned just enough business to figure out how to make a living. And since graduating from college, I've spent as much time as I could mixing art and business. We're basically using business as a tool to serve my art, just to get pots into people's hands in a way that I can actually pay rent and buy more clay, and make more art. So the art's far more important than the business. Which is why I don't really hire other potters. Hello, Sweden. Where are you folks watching from? So I cut this twice, because I'll peel this pad of clay off a little later once it dries. And then I'll have some clay that is the same consistency as the pot. And I'll use that clay to attach to the bottom of the pot to help prevent a type of common cracking called S-cracks. And it's important that you cut right below the pot so the consistency of how the clay dries, it dries at the same rate. What is my inspiration for my pottery? That's too broad of a question. I can't really answer broad questions. Helps if you keep them more specific. Would I ever travel and teach? I'm not sure. That sounds like a tough road. Most of the pottery teachers and travelers I've talked to work really hard, and in my opinion, they're way underpaid. I don't think we value teachers enough. Yeah, for each lump of clay there will be, these won't be mugs, they'll be cups. A mug typically has a handle. They'll probably be around 25 or so, so they're maybe about a pound each. Last time I listened, this song's called Snow Fort. It's about building a snow fort. It always reminds me of the mountains. I was sitting on a chairlift last time I listened to this song alone. Is my turning leg stronger than the leg that just sits there? Well, this leg doesn't just sit there, it pulls every once in a while, and I am using it to balance. Like as I lean over, I'm like hooking my leg on a board so I don't fall over. It takes your whole body. But this quad muscle right here on the kicking leg is a little bigger. It's kind of like a tennis player. It's, yeah, comes with the trade, I guess. What's my plan when I come to Minneapolis? So I'll be down in Minneapolis, not this week, but next week. I'll be in St. Paul, actually, the sister city, with a bunch of sculpture, new pottery, and I'll do some demos. The American Craft Council show. Why are there dents? To help it feel more handmade. How are the Jupiter mugs coming? I'm going to try to finish one before the show in Minneapolis. How many cups do I make in a day? Depends on the day. Sometimes none, sometimes over 100. Can people visit my shop? No, but they can visit a coffee shop in town and have a whole meal served for my pottery. But I'm kind of private. If I were giving tours all the time, I'd never get anything done. Where's my pottery on display? In person at the local blend, or you have to come find me in person, like in Minneapolis, once or twice a year. It's the only times I set up, but you can see it anywhere from the world, from anywhere in the world on cosmicmugs.com. What is a ceramic piece I'd like to see in the country or out of the country? I think you mean like in a museum or something. I'd like to see Jun Kaneko's workshop, his workshop in Omaha, Nebraska. I think he's Japanese, but he came over to Omaha and he bought a warehouse district, like multiple warehouse buildings to create his art, because they're big, and they're made out of clay. Or I hope to go to North Carolina someday and see some of the potters in the Asheville area. What brand of clay do I use? Right now, from Continental Clay. It's called a tableware clay. Any other pottery questions? Did I say my wheel is made from black walnut? It's more complicated. It's made from black walnut for the first 6 inches of solid wood, over a foot wide, on 3 pieces of white oak on top of a cement and metal bearing system. It's a custom built wheel. Does it make your hands dry? Not really. How much clay do I buy at one time? About 2,000 pounds. Usually buy a ton. Why not wear shoes? Because there'd be a hole in my shoes. How long does it take to finish the piece I'm working on? Usually 1 to 2 months, but I get over 100 out per batch. You had your first lesson on a potter's wheel? Nice, keep at it. It's easier over time. How long does it take to glaze the mountain mugs? I don't know, 5 to 10 hours. One batch of mugs, easily a few hours. Probably 5 to 10 hours for like a dozen of them. So maybe less than an hour a mug. I'm not sure. They usually sit for 6 to 12 months at a time. Any other pottery questions? How do you dry them? They just air dry. This is Paul Spring playing right now. It's really strange, but it'll feel really comfortable.
For 20 years, I felt your weight.
Do I have any work at the Northern Clay Center? I don't, but I hang out there sometimes. There's a lot of amazing potters there.
Now it's clearer. So
why do I dent it? Aesthetics and comfort. Do my feet ever get sore? No. Say your name? No. How long does it take for a purchase to be done? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if someone buys a mug, we ship it in a couple days. So we bought a mug today and it's already in the mail. That one would be a good coffee cup if it had a handle. Otherwise, it's going to burn your hand. It'll be the same temperature as the coffee. So you want a handle. And I'm not going to put handles on these. These will be for cold drinks like wine.
is coming on, and I don't know what to do, so I just keep driving on.
This will peel off later, so I cut it twice. I'll use that clay to help prevent cracking.
This is a song about a lot of things that don't make any sense. So claim it was a better dream and blame it on ignorance. Seems the same to me, and I can't figure out how it came to be. Oh, the vision is out, but it is hard to see. If you figure it out, well, you can blame it on me. Nothing I see seems the same to me, and I can't figure out how it came to be. Oh, the vision is out, but it is hard to see. If you figure it out, well, you can blame it on me. chance to lead them back to a more reflective state of mind. You was proper into right. Like an arrow through the heart of the city, I'll be burning through the streets of your hometown. The promise left to keep in my bones till my dying hour. Wait, I war. Like an arrow through the heart of the city, like a ripple in that silence between us grows so fades alone. Don't surrender the ignorant. Keep a grip on the cognizance, though sometimes you need to point. They feel you I know. I'm not alone in sentiment. I don't feel that unusual since I've embraced the sudden frame of mind. It's kept me from losing my sight. The soul that changed my life. I still feel blind. Like an arrow through the heart of the city, I'll be burning through the streets of your town. The promise left to keep in my bones till I'm dying off the weight I wore. Like an arrow through the heart of the city, like a ripple in that silence between us goes so fades alone.
something. I'll show you something. Got some tools next to me. There it is. It's like, wow. It's called the needle tool. And if you ever have a spot, I had to dig a rock out of this clay. So up here it's really thin, it's too thin, it's gonna cause problems. Put some water on it, take your needle tool, cut the top off and keep working. And if the top's a little thin, you can fold it upside down to make it thicker. Because if the edge of the pot is thicker, it'll be more durable. Any pottery questions? Hey, thanks for buying a cosmic mug. When was the last time I used an electric wheel? I don't know, a couple of years ago. The way I work isn't. I just don't use electric wheels. I don't have any. Not interested in getting one. I like traditional styles and techniques of pottery making. Can I recommend a pottery wheel? No. I can't recommend a pottery wheel. You need to spend a lot of time learning pottery and figure out what fits your body. Some people should use electric wheels. Some people might want something a little more challenging for certain types of work. And there's all different types of kick wheels. There's different types of electric wheels too. And you can make really challenging pottery on electric wheels. Kick wheels aren't better for any reason. It's preference. In fact, they're a lot worse for some things. It's a lot harder to use. It comes down to a lot of different factors. I wrote a blog post about, it's called The Art of Throwing Pottery on a Kick Wheel. So if you just Google search my last name, which is in the title of the video, and kick wheel, it should come up. And I talk all about why I use kick wheels there. And the funny thing is I bought a different type of kick wheel right after writing that blog post, right after, I think Macy wrote that one. And we didn't write about that wheel. But I used electric wheels early in my career, and who knows, maybe I'll use them again someday, but I'm just not really interested right now. What kind of kiln do I use? That question was from Periscope. I use an electric kiln, a Scut electric kiln. In college I used custom-built gas kilns and learned about wood kilns and built wood kilns from the ground up. Can anyone do it? I don't really know how to answer that. It helps if you ask really specific questions. How much does a pottery wheel cost? Depends on the type of wheel. A brand new electric wheel averages somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. A custom built wheel like this is not sold in stores. You'd have to find the design online. You'd have to find it in books. Ancient Japanese or Korean books. A potter's book by Bernard Leach would have a design similar to this. You'd have to find someone to build it custom for you. What was my worst? People don't really get the past and present tense right on Facebook. Worst pottery disaster. Multiple times I've had 100% of the kiln go right to the garbage. I heard a quote once, Malcolm Davis, who's a potter, he said it, did I intern anywhere? Yeah, I did 2 internships, unpaid for a potter, building kilns. Anyways, Malcolm Davis said, he's a potter, when he was 80, I think, I saw him speak. And he said, pottery will teach you humility through humiliation. So I made a lot of mistakes. Usually it's due to impatience. Fortunately, most of those were years ago when I was first figuring out how to make a living or before I actually had to make a living as a potter. Any other pottery questions? How long did it take me to make a living out of pottery? Well, I went to college and studied pottery, and then right after graduating, started making pottery full-time, and it's been 7 years of that. So really, since freshman year of college, I know college is, sheltered. It's not the same as having to pay rent the same way as in the real world, but I've been making pottery for like 12 years. I guess for 7 years, almost 8, I've been making a living this way. There were times when I would have made a lot more money if I worked at Taco Bell, but that's not why you make art every day. And finally, it's starting to pay off in terms of the business side of it, but it's always paid off in terms of the life of being an artist side of it. What's the temperature of the water I use? Room temperature. Doesn't really matter. But I used to do a lot of demos outdoors because this wheel is so portable. This is a kick wheel, so I can take it anywhere. I don't need to plug it in. If you're ever doing outdoor demos, especially if it's in the spring or the fall and you're in Minnesota, where if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it'll change. Use hot water. Bring a canteen of boiling hot water or just really hot water. And then right here is a water jar. It's easier to see on YouTube because it's at a different angle. Hot water helps if it's freezing cold outside. So I used to do that a lot. Why do I keep putting an indent in them? Because they're more comfortable and they feel handmade. And they're a little more, I like people to be able to feel the hand of the potter. Are some bigger than others? Yeah, that's pottery. Was it hard to master the water to clay ratio? It was. That's one of the hardest things. Too much water and the inside of the cup will have a big puddle in it. Not enough water and it will get sticky and catch and tear the clay. So you'll see me go like this every once in a while, using the slip on my hands and using the perfect amount of slip. Not too much and not too little. That's extremely important in how thick the walls will be, how fast or slow you make the pot. The touch, the feel of the clay on the outside, that's all really important. It's one of the hardest things to figure out. If I didn't have time, sorry, it's hard to answer hypotheticals. Can someone untalented learn? Yep, but you're gonna have to change that mindset. Become talented. It's easier over time, it's just muscle memory. How long have I been doing this for? 12 years. Way more than 10,000 hours. More skill to use the wheel than hand sculpting? Absolutely not. Just like it doesn't take more skill to make a painting than it does to make a pot. They're just different types of skills. You spend 10,000 hours solving math equations. Those are the skills you're gonna have. This guy who's playing right now, this musician, his name's Dylan McFarlane. So he's the singer, he's the songwriter of what you're listening to. And he did what I did in college. He spent 4 years, but it was all for guitar.
Your eyes, the freedom that you promised.
So that song was by a singer-songwriter named Dylan McFarlane. I've hung out with him a whole bunch of times. He's super talented. Any pottery questions? How much pressure do I apply to shape the clay? I can't answer that in words. Why do I put a dent in the bottom? because it helps it feel and look handmade. And I think it's more interesting with a dent in the bottom. Where can you find Dylan's music? You can find this is another one, coincidentally, by Dylan. There's 6 different artists in this playlist. It's always in the title or description of the video. I think in YouTube it's in the description, but on Facebook, check the title. Go buy a CD from him. Dude's skilled.
I lost my way through the snow and the frozen streets. For me, yeah. I stood alone by the trees, fading away till it came. Was your name, your name, your name? Oh, my sorry bones from the river. For the sake of memory, revel in some tragedy, the choice I couldn't make. I spent my days walking restless through the waking sleep, as if I dreamed every foolish mistake. I'd sit around once a day, eat on red's face. Was your name, your name, your name? Oh, my sorry bones from the gutter. Maybe on the wind, let that sentimental wind blow me back again. But I settle on some crowded street, on some smoky melody, with some breeze blowing away. It's a troubling foot to land. Your worried mind, it holds you back while you're laid on by a curious hand. One foot follows the other pressure of the day. There's lots of fish to kiss, I guess. My transistor radio's broken, and I'll never tune the frequency to get my heart back in the key. My father married me, I guess. You only left me for an ocean. There's lots of fish to kiss, I guess. My transistor radio's broken, but I'll never tune the frequency to get my heart back in the key. My father married me, I guess. So have you packed things? We're far away from here. No one will know your last name is mine. And if you don't mind dragging me through the mud, I'm sure you're doing just fine. You only left me for an ocean. There's lots of fish to kiss, I guess. My transistor radio's broken.
I'm all out of clay.
Don't ever tune the frequency to get my heart back in the key.
Okay, I'm gonna pick up this board and move them over there. Whoop, sorry about that.
When your thoughts wander astray, they always run to the same place somehow. Somehow. Is it very crowded there? Is it hard to find a stand around to lead you out? It's easier to run and be the shadow of an absentee.
So, under this plastic,
But there's part of you.
there are mugs that have been sitting for almost a week.
Be a place,
Plastic pauses the drying process.
always be a place
So when I put this down there, this was really soft clay, just scrap clay, and now it's really hard.
can't believe
But not too hard. It's still a little bit malleable.
free without.
So it's dried a bit, just like these pots.
We were picking up some speed and kicking dirt up with our feet in love. It's easier to run and be the shadow of an absentee.
Any pottery questions? I'm gonna take these mugs. So these were thrown on the wheel, and then I let them dry for just a couple hours, like 3 or 4 hours. And I came back to the studio, and what I did was I could pick them up now because all the water had evaporated, so I smoothed it out the bottom. I made the bottom nice and smooth. Okay, and then I set them upside down, and I covered them with plastic. So then they dried under the plastic, just barely at all, almost not at all. I pretty much paused the drying for almost a week just because I was busy doing other things. Taxes were due. I had to pay my taxes. So these pots are still leather hard. They're kind of leathery, but they're still malleable. I can still move them a little bit. But they're hard enough where I can pick them up. And now I'm going to make some handles. I'm going to pull handles off of some clay and attach the handles to these pots. The reason I have this plastic, this blue plastic bat, is because it's flat. It's industrially made. And my wheel is natural. It's a piece of black walnut, and it's worn away over time. It's got a little divot in it. So if I take a mug and I tap it on the wheel, the bottom is going to have that divot, and it's not going to sit flat on the table. So you'll hear me tapping in order to make the bottom foot ring flat. And it's best to make a foot ring on the bottom of your pottery. If it's flat, the bottom pottery warps in the kiln. It moves a little bit. And the bottom, if it's completely flat, it can warp. Next time you're at a coffee shop or something, sand my wood flat. It takes a big sander to do it, and a big machine to make sure to guarantee it's flat. Hand sanding it probably wouldn't do it. If you're in a diner again, pick up the mug and feel for the ring. Oftentimes there's a foot ring. So the way I do it is I just push in a little bit.
She sees the world like a Jackson Polly.
So not only does it make an indent, but it also makes an interesting design that came from my hand very quickly. And you can actually see my thumbprint in there, so it looks and feels more handmade. So let's do that first. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12.
Jackson Polly.
The song was called Jackson Pollock by Paul Spring. Alright, one more, and then I'm going to make some handles. Then I'm going to attach the handles to the mugs. See, with this technique, it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, if it's a little bit, if there's a lot of fingerprints in there, it just feels more handmade. It's not about making them clean and precise. If you want something like that, you can get it made by a machine. I don't use many carving tools or metal or wood tools because I want them to feel handmade, so they end up being very round and smudgy, kind of like my hands. How do you get one? CosmicMugs.com. There's a couple available, or you just sign up for the email newsletter. or sign up for a giveaway whenever we launch one and cross your fingers. We gave away like, I don't know, almost $2,000 worth of stuff just last month. Okay. Next, got some clay right here. So I'm going to use this lump of clay to make 18 handles. Then I'm going to attach them to the mugs. Why do I tap them on the table? This is a pottery wheel, and I tap them on the wheel to make the bottom as flat as possible so they don't rock when they're sitting on someone's table, even though they might still. Clay works a lot in the kiln. I'm going to add a little bit more clay here. Not exactly sure how much I'll need, just guesstimating. The clay that I'm not using, I put back in a bag. I just have a bag down here. Any plastic bag will work, but you wrap it in plastic to pause the drying process. And these mugs are drying. Right now, all the water is evaporating out slowly. So I have a time lag, I have to get these handles on in the next hour or two, otherwise the mug will dry too much, especially when it's thinner on top, and they'll change color from this soft, dark clay into a light, rock-hard clay, and I won't be able to put a handle on it, it'll be ruined. So you're working within the time frame when you're putting handles on cups. Clay is much softer than I thought. Don't pull too hard, you'll pull it off. So I'm going to pull all 18 handles in a row, then attach the handles. And that's just my preference. The song is called All Together by the Gibby Hippies.
Oh, I got something I think you should see. I don't know if it suits your fancy. Just drop by if you think you'd be free, and I sure could use a couple. Yes, I think you got something real neat. Just sit down, friend. It's a cool treat. I'm convinced it will be so easy. I've got it all together. I've got together. We've got it all 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 together. We've got it all.
Any pottery questions? Am I listening to Pandora? Nope, it's all original music that my friends play. The song's by Bluga. Any pottery questions? Yep, I'm just making a whole bunch of handles. Then I'm going to attach them to the mugs next to me. Am I eyeballing the length of the handles, or are they pretty exact? A little of both. I'm eyeballing them, trying to get them close to exact. But fortunately, the whole idea behind the cosmic mugs was that they're universal handles. Yeah, there's a lot of puns there, but why would I make them all one size when people's hands are not all one size? So I want them to be roughly medium. But if they're a little small or a little big, I don't worry about it because people's hands are small and big, and so I make them roughly 16-ounce size coffee mugs. Some end up being 12 or 13 ounces, some end up being more than 20. But it's easier for me to make pottery like that, and seems to be more enjoyable for people to be able to pick out whatever size is closest to what they might enjoy for their hand size with their how much coffee or tea they like to drink. So yeah, I can tell that one's a little too big. So I'll make this next one slightly smaller, but that's how I do it. I've made thousands and thousands of these. So mentally I'm just adjusting how much clay I pull. It's all muscle memory and then judgment. It's quick judgments. But overworking the clay to make it more precise doesn't necessarily make it better. Sometimes it's better if it's fresh and quick. Feels more honest. Do I make any without handles? Absolutely. I was making a whole bunch like 20 minutes ago. Any pottery questions? Why doesn't machine-made pottery warp? It does, but they usually make them in batches of 10 to 50,000. So if 10,000 warp, they still have 40,000 to sell for $10 each. I don't throw out a pot just because it warps. I'm a little more forgiving. Any other pottery questions? So all these other bits of clay that I cut, just smush them back up and recycle them 100%. A century lies on the ground. Is making pottery good exercise for your arms? I don't know. I don't think it's enough I exercise on top of it. How did I get started in this? High school. How am I planning on glazing them? These ones will be cosmic mugs. I don't want to make a lot of moon mugs. This mug. Okay, now there's a lot of residue built up on my hands and my fingers. So I'm going to do my best to wipe that off. So I have 2 buckets of water here actually, and just a big sponge. Because any of that residue is going to get on the pots. And it just builds up, and the more and more residue that builds up, I'll have to scrape it off later because it'll make it less smooth. Do I ever get bored with it? Absolutely. I think everybody gets bored with their job sometimes, but this is my job. I've had way more boring jobs than this. I used to work at Taco Bell. I mowed lawns all through high school. Spent 6 hours just doing nothing but mixing clay. Which is actually kind of a fun job, but I'm not sure of any jobs out there that aren't boring sometimes. Do I have a kiln? Yes, I have 1 kiln. It's an electric kiln. Okay. So even though this mug is a little more dry, they're starting to get cold too because the water is evaporating off of them. This is a little more dry than the handles I just made. I can still attach them together, but I need a tool. Where's my tool? I always keep a box of tools next to me in case I misplace something. It happens all the time. Extras down here if I can find them. This is what I was looking for. It's called a serrated rib. It's just a metal rib with ridges on it. You got some ridges. I'm not sure if you can see it over there on YouTube. A fork would work too. I always keep a fork in there just in case. Dipping in a little bit of water as I scrape because that helps to soften the surface. I want this surface to be a little softer to get closer to the surface of this handle. If you join 2 pieces of clay together that are the exact same consistency, you don't need to score and slip. Scoring, using a little bit of this liquid clay slip, putting that on. By doing that to both the handle and this more dry mug body, the 2 pieces of clay will attach. So I'm wiggling a little bit. I think of it as like, if you're putting 2 pieces together, they want to crack apart, but if you have rough surfaces, wiggling those teeth together, it helps to ensure that the handle is going to stay on. The reason they crack apart is due to shrinkage, and it can be very subtle. It's at microscopic levels, but if this clay is hard and this clay is dry and this is soft, then this is already shrunk a bit, and this soft clay is going to shrink more, and as it shrinks more water evaporates off before it's completely bone dry. It'll crack off because they're shrinking at different rates. That's why stuff cracks. It's one of the reasons clay cracks as it dries. So roughing up the surface and then wiggling the handle down into place helps to guarantee that it's not going to come off. And then I usually scrape just right there, just a little bit on the top of the handle. One little scrape is all I found that I need. And then I roll out a ball of soft clay. It helps if it's fairly soft. I look over my shoulder. And then I make a tiny little pebble, but the look of this is not as important as how it feels. Pressing my thumb into the top of the mug handle is more important. So when someone else uses this and drinks coffee from it, coffee or tea or whatever, they can feel my thumb that made this impression. That's more about comfort than aesthetics, than visual I tried to do a spiral a couple different times, but it just wasn't very comfortable, and I wasn't going to sacrifice comfort just to put a spiral somewhere. And there's already a spiral on the inside. It's hard to see, but there's a spiral down in there, and the walls spiral upward. That's why I don't call them spiral mugs. I mean, sometimes I do, but that's not the only theme. They're more complex than that. And sometimes you don't really know until you hold on to it. Which is nice. It's kind of like a nice surprise. And repeat. Any pottery questions? Why not number them? Because I make thousands every year, and I don't feel like thousands of numbers would be useful. I don't think it'd look very good. My signature is enough. Do I ever plan to do it blindfolded again? Yeah, I am planning a blindfolded video in the future. One thing to be careful of is when this is on the table, that can get too low and then drip in the kiln and touch. Checking to make sure it's straight up and down. It's not wavered to one side. Sometimes it'll look straight one way but not another. Or it'll be too close to the bottom. Or the shape won't be elegant. Any pottery questions? The music's always in the title of the video. Do I paint them before or after the kiln? So think about it a little bit. That's the reason you can't eat off of a painting is because paint is not dishwasher safe. So I don't paint the pottery because acrylic paint and oil paint, be like eating off of plastic, colored plastic. or oil paint, which never really dries, or takes sometimes decades to dry. Ceramics is very different. It's completely different. You brush. I don't even say paint. I try to say brush, because that's really what I'm doing, is brushing on glazes. And glazes turn into something like glass during the firings. And that's what makes the food safe. Any other pottery questions? Glaze.
Don't give me your reasons to stay. I won't be listening either way. There's a simpler come to help me find what we're missing. Between winners, misfortune, the death of a friend, find no love in a worried mind, close to the end. Oh, but I sink back to those same old comforts.
Do I make my own glazes? I do. I use a stoneware clay that I buy. I used to make clay too, but that's a lot of heavy lifting, thousands of pounds of clay. So I buy my clay to simplify it, so I can get really complicated with glazes and work on glaze chemistry and spend all my time and effort there. Do I know the best clay for a pit fire? I don't think anybody knows. I think that's opinion. There are very few absolutes in pottery. Everything can be challenged. Do I ever look for an apprentice? I don't actually look for an apprentice, no. No, but I've never really had someone want to be an apprentice, actually. There's a lot of apprenticeship models out there. I think East Fork Pottery hires apprentices. St. John's Pottery hires apprentices. Why don't the handles droop while drying? They do. I just control the droop by putting them upside down. So they're drooping a little bit. I'm counting on that. And then I put them upside down to reverse the drooping just a little bit. But I try not to overthink it because everyone's hands are so incredibly different. The more I think about a certain way that these should be, the more I find people request different things. So I try to just let the art feel natural, and then I don't overthink it too much. The most important thing is just to keep moving forward, and then I can focus on glazes as opposed to overthinking the size of a handle or something like that. If you accidentally eat the clay, will you die? I doubt it. But it'd probably be really bad for you. It'd be like going outside and taking a scoop of dirt and putting it in your mouth. Any other pottery questions? Is it expensive to get started? Go Google search price of pottery kilns and then try to come up with a place to put it. And think about how you're going to fuel it, whether it's electricity or gas or wood, which you usually can't build, you usually can't buy, you have to build. Do I make anything besides mugs? Absolutely. Takes a little more than a short video though. Pottery is a very long process, takes a long time. I spent the weekend working on sculptures and jars and fabric with how to display them. You got a show coming up.
Though the wind blows off track.
How do you make them non-toxic and safe? You buy glazes that are non-toxic and safe, or you study glaze chemistry and use glaze recipes from scholarly articles and books that are non-toxic and safe. And you spend years making pottery, experimenting, and use only materials that are non-toxic and safe or locked underneath, so they're not at the surface and can't get out. Or you have your pottery tested in a lab. The only tests I worry about are what the government worries about. So the regional health inspector tested my pottery, and he tested for lead, and he said lead and cadmium are the only things he worries about. I've never had cadmium in my studio, and lead is illegal to buy. So he tested my pottery, and of course it passed. Start to finish, how long does it take to make a mug? Depends on the mug. Some mugs have been sitting in my studio for over a year. But if I rushed it, I could make a mug start to finish in a week. So I keep my process typically to about 1 to 2 months.
We're hanging on by a long
So right now I'm attaching handles to mugs these mugs were made last week. I'm attaching the handles to finish them. But tomorrow I can go and load a kiln and glaze mugs because I have other mugs that are further along in the process. So I can have a never-ending stream of working. Can a mug be remade if you break it? If these mugs break, clay can be dried out, put in a bucket of water, and then recycled 100%. But after it's fired, it's no longer clay, it's ceramic. And ceramic has changed chemically and cannot be recycled. Maybe after 1 million years of erosion. Why do I put the ball on top of the handle? To make a comfortable thumb spot. It feels natural. And it's also a little canvas because I put a lot of color on this top spot where the thumb is going to be. So it's a point of accent that feels comfortable, and then when they feel it, I try to make some of the most intense drips and colors right there as well. Do you have a website? Yeah, multiple websites that are always in the title and video. I have a couple different bodies of work. These are for cosmic mugs. But I'm exhibiting some sculpture next week. And working on a blog post for Star Talk Radio. They asked me to write a blog post, so that one's in process. That's going to be about Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night. My girlfriend and I went to New York City and saw it in person a couple months ago. We were working on a blog post about it. Any pottery questions? Do I have a favorite potter? Someone that inspires me? I have a lot of favorites. Joe Singlewald pottery. That's all the dinner plates that we eat off of. I like Mark Hewitt's work. I'm excited about what East Fork pottery is doing, but I'm skeptical of how big it's becoming and how sustainable it might be. Well, I have pictures of my show. I'll be doing live streams at the show. Is this all I do for work? yeah, I'm a potter. There's other things, like I spent a couple hours today on paperwork because taxes are due. But you have to do a lot of things if you own a small business. But yeah, my job is to make and sell pottery. So most of what I do is make pottery. Especially now that I've got some people helping to pack and ship. Any tips for a possible future potter? The first 10,000 pots you make are going to be really, really difficult and not very good. Then it gets a little easier. But you just have to make a lot of pots before it starts to get easier. Any other pottery questions? How long do I spend per day on average on pottery? Depends on the day. Again, some days I spend most of my time doing other things like sculpture. But this week, I'll most likely spend an average of something like 6 to 8 hours a day on pottery. It's gonna be a busy week. Sometimes I'll spend 14 to 16 hours on pottery and then I'll take a day or two off. I like to binge work. Pull my handles. Is it relaxing? Sometimes. 10,000 pots. Yeah, it takes a lot of pots to make a living as a potter. It's about 2 to 3 years with pottery for me. And I do it full time. Do I ever make sculptures out of those clay? Out of this clay? Out of that clay? Yeah. Yeah, check my Instagram and you'll see a bit of sculpture. And everything is just the same as the title of the video, Cherrico. But you're gonna start to see some new sculptures that I've never shown anyone before. Exhibited at the American Craft Council next week on probably every single one of our platforms. So every once in a while I'll do something weird, like, oh, I just pressed that up too much. But someone might love that. It's the only mug like that. So I'm gonna leave it. Happy accidents. If you want a basement, you live in the UK. We ship pottery all over the world, and I know for a fact there's a lot of vases for sale. But mugs tend to sell out really quickly. I think because, I mean, coffee is one of the most drunk beverages in the world, and caffeine is the #1 most consumed drug in the world, and people seem to drink coffee all over the world. So mugs don't last very long, but other types of pottery like vases and bowls and cups, I'm positive are on our website right now. It's just a tall cylinder, circular with a handle, a coffee mug. They just go right away. I'm perpetually never able to make enough of them. There's thousands of people that are trying to buy them. So I just make as many as I can. I don't really worry about it, because if I only made mugs all day, every day, I'd probably injure my body. It'd be really boring. I'd probably, get carpal tunnel or something. So I make variety so I can have a long career as an artist. That's my goal, at least. And so it doesn't get so boring. Make something weird every once in a while. Any other pottery questions? Do I stamp or sign my signature? I sign it with a little bit of glaze, black glossy glaze. A lot of potters will stamp their signature though. The weirdest thing I've ever made, you can find it on Google. It's called Mindscape. M-I-N-D-S-C-A-P-E, all one word. It's a sculpture installation of over 1,000 ceramic sculptures that were all made on a pottery wheel. On this pottery wheel. It's called Mindscape. I did it in college. Sculpture installation. It was weird. And there's gonna be some weird pieces at the American Craft Council too. How long is the clay workable? It depends. I mean, this clay versus that clay versus the handles, they're all different drynesses right now. Different drynesses? Is that even a word? But I always sit down and work in repetition, so I'm going to finish these next 6 coffee mugs in the next few minutes here, so it might be, if I came back in 2 hours, they'd be too dry. Will I go live at the American Craft Show? Multiple times. I'm bringing multiple cameras down. We have a lot of cool things planned. It costs a little bit to get in. It's an exclusive show. It's the most high-end show I've ever done. So that's why I still want to make it accessible to people. So I'll be live streaming it. You want a mug, but you probably drop it. Yeah, don't drop it. It'll break if you drop it. Do I take custom orders? No. Can you re-wet the clay to make it workable again? You can. You can recycle clay 100%. It just takes a lot of effort. Time and effort. But it's 100% recyclable before it's fired. So I have a bucket next to me, and then I dry it out in a sling, and then I pull it and just wet it up again. But it takes some time and attention. Is this my job? Yep. My job is potter. I make pots. Do I use any other mediums? I try not to. I'd love to do a little more painting, but I try to keep everything focused on ceramics. Writing, I'd love to do a little more writing. I try to write a little bit every day, I guess, so. It's maybe artistic or creative, but not art. But this blog, our blog is a creative outlet for me, and I'm working on a blog post right now on a painter, Vincent van Gogh. So if I'm not making pots, I'm usually writing. Do I live stream glazing? Yes, I do. There might be some of that tomorrow. We'll see. Any other pottery questions? have I recreated a popular famous clay item made before? Yeah, Renee Magritte, The Treachery of Images. And I'm not sure if that one will pop up on the internet. I called it The Treachery of Function. That's a painting that I recreated out of clay. I still have it. It might show up again later. But you can find that on Google searching too. But there's some cups and some forms that I've made that were in books, like Bernard Leach's The Potter's Book. He has some nice forms in there, that some vases that I've made. But I used to look at Jackson Pollock's glazing often. Even this year, I was seeing some of his pieces in person. And I did make a mountain mug inspired by Van Gogh's process, Vincent's process of lots and lots of brush strokes, but it wasn't, it's out there, it's gone, but I'd love to see one with 10,000 brush strokes instead of 1,000. His work was just so incredibly intricate. And when things get more intricate, they get more expensive, because that's how art has to work if you want to make enough to survive. So as things get more intricate and expensive, it's hard to balance that with making a living in business. Because not everyone can afford a $1,000 or $2,000 coffee mug. But if that's what the art requires, it's the only way you get something that is ever going to be even close to the quality of what Vincent Van Gogh did or Picasso did.
Just go walk a while, 'cause I know this piece of land, and I can show it to you if you'll understand. But the more time on that machine, the more you rewind and pause those scenes. Just long for running the streets.
Any pottery questions?
With that baby boy in your arms on the living room floor, with those big blue eyes, sister, I cannot lie anymore.
How do you do clay on your own? You'll have to be more specific. I'm not sure what that means. If you want to like make pottery, like learn to create things, if that's your question, still be more specific. I always suggest people start by taking classes. What cone do I fire mugs at? I love pottery questions like that. Cone 8. Cone 04 for bisque firing, and then cone 8 for glaze firing. Can you fire air dry clay? Probably melt. I'm not really sure. You need to know the chemical makeup of the air dry clay. Air dry clay, I have seen air dry clay in like, you know, a chain craft store or whatever. It's just clay. It's clay, that's all it is. So you need to know what temperature it fires to, because some temperatures, some clays are made to melt at lower temperatures, some at higher temperatures. So if you fire a low temp clay to a high temperature, it's going to turn into a glaze. You'll have a glaze all over your shelf. Why do I hit the mug on the table? To help the bottom be as flat as possible. Otherwise, if it's round, it's going to be round and rock on your table. What's the oddest pottery request you have seen to make? I think it's weird that people always want like their cats and their dogs on pottery, or put my name on a pot. I get that one every day. Oddest request. I don't know, those just fly over my head so quickly I usually don't remember. If you take requests all day long, that's not really making art. What resource do I recommend to learn about firing? Great question. John Britt's Cone 10 Glazing Book, B-R-I-T-T, The Complete Guide to Glazing and Firing at Cone 10. And I fire lower than that. I fire Cone 8, and it's still a great book. He talks a lot about the kiln firing process in that book. What's my favorite request? Can I please buy the art you made? That is my favorite request. When you trust the artist to make something and support their work by buying it, trusting their vision in the art. That's the art I like. I like to go and see Picasso's work hanging in museums and see Van Gogh, his vision, 100% of his vision, that was not done on commission. Unfortunately for Vincent, it was because nobody wanted his work, so he suffered because of it and died at age 37. So I think the best compliment you can give an artist is, hey, can I please give you money for your creation? It's just incredibly gratifying. So go buy something from an artist. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you folks next time. Just subscribe to whatever page you're on if you want to see when I go live again. We're on YouTube over here on a landscape view, and then Periscope, which is Twitter's live streaming, and the heart of this is kind of my Facebook Live page, Cherrico Pottery. We love his sunflowers and Starry Night. You should check out Starry Night over Rhone. That's a gorgeous Starry Night too. Less swirls and more bright splotches. The olive trees is a really good one too. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you later. Peace. Goodbye.